can writers predict the future? Number 1. The author included the information about President Kennedy's idea and NASA to show that A. Technological advancements are needed in order to change our world. B. Something seemingly impossible can become reality. C. Governments typically support the development of new technology. D. Great leaders have a remarkable ability to accomplish their goals. Number 2. What is the best summary of the selection? F. Science fiction writers Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, and Ray Bradbury wrote about life in the future. Verne wrote about humankind's first trip to the moon. Wells described many technologies that exist today. Bradbury wrote about traveling to Mars. G. President John F. Kennedy believed it was important for the people to travel into space. In 1969, the United States sent astronauts on a mission to the moon. Science fiction writers such as Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, Ray Bradbury have described space travel and new technologies in their books. H. In 1865, science fiction author Jules Verne wrote about an expedition to the moon. He described a crew of 3 men launching their spacecraft from Florida and splashing down in the Pacific Ocean when they returned to Earth. Some people compare his writing to the first trip humans made to the moon, which occurred in 1969. And J. In 1969, the United States sent 3 astronauts on a mission to the moon for the first time. More than 100 years later, Jules Verne had described an expedition that very closely resembled the 1969 mission. Verne and other well-known science fiction writers, such as H.G. Wells, Ray Bradbury, have displayed an unusual ability to predict the future in their writings. Number 3. According to the selection, one reason that humans develop new types of technology is that they want to A. Demonstrate that distant places are interesting to visit. B. Discover new information. C. Make accurate predictions about the future. Or D. Engage in difficult tasks. Number 4. Based on the information the author includes about the 3 science fiction writers, the reader can conclude that the author believes that the writers were F. Educators, G. Realists, H. Visionaries, J. Scholars. Five. Which words from paragraph 2 help the reader understand what eerily means? A. Man to the moon. B. Innovative thoughts. C. Far-fetched ideas. Or D. Predicting the future. Number 6. What is the main idea of paragraph 2? F. Space travel in science fiction can sometimes mirror space travel in reality. G. Florida is the main launch site for space travel in both science fiction and reality. H. The Navy and Pacific Ocean play important roles in both science fiction and reality. J. Spacecrafts in both fiction and reality have names that are symbolic to the mission. Number 7. Which sentence from the selection does not contribute to the idea that sometimes science fiction writers can predict the future? A. Will future families travel to Mars to live there as Bradbury imagined? B. Since NASA successfully landed a rover on Mars, Bradbury's fantasy may yet become reality. C. President Kennedy's goal was achieved and the world as we knew it would change. D. Like Verne, other science fiction writers have accurately described inventions that are commonplace today, which does not lead to the idea that sometimes science fiction writers can predict the future, which is not about that. 8. The organizational pattern of the selection allows the author to F. Compare the works of famous science fiction authors to the inventions or events that actually occurred. G. Describe how science fiction authors get their inspiration for books. H. Explain the history of space travel and the chronological order in which significant gains were made. J. Illustrate how science fiction caused space travel. Number 9. The author wrote this selection most likely to A. Describe how science fiction writers change the world. B. Highlight how reality can mimic fiction. C. Suggest that space travel will continue to advance in the future. D. Reveal how President Kennedy started the space program. Last question, number 10. What is the best summary of paragraph 4? Just paragraph 4. F. NASA named the Mars rover after Bradbury's story, The Martian Chronicles. Bradbury was excited to hear the news of the rover's success. G. Bradbury's story, The Martian Chronicles, describe a group of space travelers who inhabit Mars. The story shows what life on Mars would be like. H. NASA launched the Mars Curiosity rover in 2012. The rover will help plan a manned mission to Mars. J. In 2012, NASA launched the Mars Curiosity rover to collect scientific data. Bradbury discusses the idea of travel to Mars in his short story, The Martian Chronicles.